This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Daily English Premier League podcast brought to you by Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Michał and Nathan, coming to you pre-recorded from California, and joining me, the Hawaii guy, Nathan. Thank you so much for appearing in our podcast. Long time no see, man.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Good to get the Premier League back. But yeah, lots of good topics to speak about.
Absolutely,
today.
And what a match week it was, and what a weekend it was. And to be honest, it came to a point that when we were discussing the games that we actually want to cover in detail in today's episode, we had a problem, because normally you would, of course, devolve the entire episode for Manchester Derby. But then once you actually saw the game, and once you realize that it finished goalless, you kind of try to somehow re-establish your priorities, because, you know, Manchester Derby, of course, it's important, but with goalless Derby, it sounds bad. But anyway, let's go through it, because there are still some interesting things to talk about from Manchester Derby perspective. And the most interesting giveaway, or at least according to me, from that Manchester Derby game is that if there is some progress by Ruben Amorim's side, it is somewhat visible. I say somewhat because they were missing chances. But what I really liked about Man United in the game was that Patrick Dorgu finally started playing in his level. Every single time I see Bruno Fernandes, I just, bow down to him, because this is our god. So he had a great game. Diogo Dalot, the guy who I've been on the record really hating, he actually put up a good show. So, what are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, from what I saw, I thought it was pretty even game. I thought they're still growing into this 3-4-3 or 3-4-2-1 system, Man United. Dalot and Dorgu did actually do pretty well defensively. Offensively, they've still got a long way to go in terms of like utilizing their wing backs and getting them into the attacking positions they want. But it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. It was just okay. But I think I said to you beforehand, Man United seem a lot better off the ball, because that was always their problem, with a player's tracking back, a player's working hard enough. But they're definitely a lot stronger at that now. It's just finishing those chances for them now. They're just really struggling to put the ball in the back of the net.
True, and I absolutely agree. And I mean, just looking at the statistics of Rasmus Hojlund, right, the guy who somebody really expects to contribute to the team, and to contribute to chances, and contribute to capitalizing on them. Well, there was nothing for Hojlund to capitalize on, because he had no attempts. 0 on target, 0 off target, 0 blocked, nothing. It's as if he wasn't even there. That is a very big problem for Hojlund, because I think he cannot really adapt to that system that Ruben Amorim is offering. So I really think that, as a Man United fan, I really think that Hojlund, he's going to be fighting for his survival for those last games of the season, because if he does not produce something, if he doesn't adapt to Ruben Amorim, then that coach will have no problem cutting him off, just cutting him out from the team, and just telling him to go find a different club. Would that be a right assessment, or do you think I'm being too harsh for Hojlund?
Yeah, I think you make a really good point, because it really, for me, feels like it's the system that he's struggling to adapt to. If you've seen him play for the Danish national team, even before he went to Man United and Atalanta, he's a very instinctive striker. He just needs service, needs crosses in the box, got a good finish when he's on the end of things, but it feels like he's trying to play the physical battle in the Premier League, and it's very difficult. Like he's usually going to be up against two centre backs with his back to goal. You want to see him making runs into the box, timing of his runs. It just feels like he needs kind of the old Man United strikers to kind of get a hold of him, like your Andy Coles and your Ruud van Nistelrooy's. He needs that kind of dynamic again. Because I do rate him, but I think you're right. I think if it continues, he's probably going to be a loan player or a bench player, because you'd probably think they're going to sign a striker or two in the summer. So, but system wise, I think he's struggling. For me, I just don't think he gets the service.
Yeah.
When
He doesn't get the service.
when Garnacho usually cuts in, he's kind of cutting into that mid space where he usually probably wants to play on the outside. But then you argue that do the wing backs do enough to get balls into the box? Those kind of questions. So, but he's got to be there, right? He's got to be in the right position. Usually he isn't. So that's on him.
Yeah,
Well,
and that's all that you can actually say.
I did see Xerxes had a chance when he came on, where there was a cross into the box and he kind of flicked it. The keeper had to make a good save. But then I've heard murmurs that Xerxes doesn't think he's a number 9 or he's not a number 10. He doesn't really know what he is. So I don't know. I don't know what to say.
No, but to be honest, what you just said there perfectly encapsulates the Man United state of affairs, really, because those players, they for the last 3-4 months or even 5 months, they've been trying to somehow find their identity in that system, and some did well, some did super well, and some of them did subpar. They really weren't up to scratch there. But just to move on from Man United a little bit, because of course that is the team which is closest to my heart and to the heart of many fans out there. Let's just give a little bit of airtime to Man City here, and how the lack of Erling Haaland cost them greatly. Or maybe it wasn't just Erling Haaland. Maybe it was the fact that Kevin De Bruyne also underperformed. Who knows? Maybe his announcement that he's leaving Man City after this season kind of worked as a detrimental to his form. But just speculation. That's just pure speculation. What is your opinion there?
Yeah, from what I saw from De Bruyne, he had a lot of good passing, a lot of good some moments of, like, obviously he's got that touch of class and brilliance. I mean, when Bernardo Silva's usually in a deeper position, I don't think that helps the team in an attacking sense. So, and then I didn't see Doku getting past his man. I didn't really see Marmoush breaking through their 3 centre backs today. But yeah, I think maybe it might have had an effect on De Bruyne, but I still saw moments of class. But as a collective, I didn't think they did enough in an attacking sense to win the game. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so weird to say. I mean, just looking at the stats, because of course, like from just a fan's perspective, when you just see the game, you just see Man United pouring with attacks and just failing to capitalize. And as far as Man City went, they did have some chances. Just looking at the statistics of the shots, there were only 9 shots in total, comparing to Man United's 13, but they still had some chances, and Onana actually had to make some saves, and of course he kept a clean sheet, so kudos to him. Looking on the other side of the pitch, Ruben Dias, Joško Gvardiol, O'Reilly, they have some very good ratings after this game: 7.4, 7.7, 7.0. Those are some really decent rates, and I believe that is because they did not allow Bruno Fernandes a lot of space, although sometimes they were failing, because Bruno Fernandes still delivered some great football. But for example, Diogo Dalot, they did not allow him a lot of space to create anything down there. Although he did try, but still, like they did some good job. So so I really think that Man City, just they really, if they wanted to, And if they had some more power, they could have really finished that Man United side off. Because, of course, although they were playing better than usual, they still had far better quality football-wise to just put at least one past Onana. Just one more question to you about how you perceived Pep Guardiola on the sidelines, because once I saw his face, basically, like I've just been observing him from the beginning to the end of the game, and I just saw how Guardiola was just, I don't know whether that's depression, like how would you call this? He was just so under the weather there.
Yeah, I think the commentator actually touched upon it. They said he was just getting frustrated throughout, like when his team don't make a pass or when they don't do a pattern of play and it just failed. He was just constantly like throwing his hands in the air, like reacting in a certain way because he's used to winning. He's a perfectionist, you know. Like
Absolutely.
they're so used to winning football matches that now that they've taken a drop off, especially in these last 6 to 9 months, it's like it's hard to comprehend, you know. But yeah, I just think they've lost some components of like where they used to be. Like even Gundogan was playing today, and I didn't think he had an effect on the game really at all. Not he did okay, but he's not like the Gundogan of 3-4 years ago. And then I do think the uprising of what's his name, O'Reilly at left back. He's brought him into the team as a young player, and he's done really well. But I did notice as well that Sabinho and Grealish were, I wouldn't say dropped, but they were benched today. And that Savinho's had a really good upturn of form in this second half of the season. So he usually looks like their creative player. Yeah, I wasn't very impressed with Doku. Didn't think he beat his man. Didn't think he got any shots away. And Marmoush just looked very isolated, throughout.
Although he had the better rating at the end than, if I remember correctly. Let me just look it up very quickly, just so I do not say anything stupid. Still, if I see clearly, Marmoush still had a better rate than Phil Foden. Phil Foden was absolutely like, I didn't even notice him really.
Yeah, that's a real kind of astronomical drop off from Foden, considering last year was PFA Player of the Season, like voted for by most players and football writers, and it's really strange to see the drop off because even for England, he's getting a lot of criticism, but he's just not in form. He just can't find any rhythm, you know. He pops up every now and then with an assist or a goal in the Premier League, but by his standards, it's pretty low right now. He's got. I think he's just got to get back to basics. He probably just confidence is gone.
Yeah. He's got to get back to basics, and we just shall see how this will look, because the remaining games for Man City, they are still super important. They still want to get to that top four. They will play Crystal Palace in the next match week, then Everton, Aston Villa, Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth, and Fulham. It sounds actually, from just looking at it, it sounds like a nice way how they could just get their way to the top four. We will mention just briefly something about how the final table of Premier League could shape out, but we have to move on, because now we just have to hear about our sponsor, which is Bioniq, the supplements which could turn you into a Greek god. So let's listen to it.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
You're listening to Daily English Premier League podcast, brought to you by Global Sports Podcast Network. We have just finished discussing the Manchester derby, so we can just move away from that to what somebody could say a far more important issue than just a good old Manchester rivalry, which is the battle for the very first place and for the championship of England, ladies and gentlemen. And in that, there have been some developments. We will just look at those two games of Liverpool and Arsenal as a bundle, like we were just going to bundle it together. So, Everton, Arsenal at Goodison Park, and the penalty, which was a very weak penalty, which could have ever been given in football, which was then capitalized on by Ndiaye. Everton drew against Arsenal. Despite pretty good performance from Arsenal, but anyway, that was not enough to win against Everton there. But this result could still be good for Arsenal, as back in London, Fulham, they won against Liverpool 3-2, even though Liverpool took an early lead by McAllister in the 14th minute. It all just collapsed. As Liverpool actually lost 3 goals in a very quick succession. Sessegnon 23rd minute, Iwobi 32nd, Muniz 32nd and 37th. Wow, I mean, if you if you didn't even see the highlights and you just look at the column of goals scored by Fulham, you just have to see, my word, what has happened with Liverpool defense there?
Yeah, for me, I just think they were caught cold a couple times. Iwobi's kind of, I think he's had a good season. He's contributed a lot of goals and assists, and he definitely caused them an issue. I know a big factor is Robertson's been. You can tell his kind of performances are dropping over this last year or two compared to where he was under Jurgen Klopp. And then you combine that with Curtis Jones filling in at right back, and they really exploited that left side of Liverpool today. And yeah, just think who got the Muniz goal where Van Dijk was trying to claim a foul was just great strength. Like, you can't be complaining to the referee. I mean, if that was ruled out, then we may as well rule out half the Premier League goals for contact.
Yeah,
but yeah, that was a great goal. And then yeah, I think the one Jones, it deflected off of him, and then Sessegnon, he's hit it into the net, and that very avoidable goals. Considering they were, McAllister hit an absolute rocket, from 20-25 yards.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think Fulham have always threatened. I know that we did a podcast before about when Fulham beat Newcastle at St James's Park, and they've always been capable of doing this to teams. I know they drew to Arsenal at Craven Cottage earlier in the season. Like, they've got some threats in attack, and with Robinson at fullback as well. There's just a lot of good pedigree in their team. I thought Sander Berge had a really good game as well in the centre midfield.
Yeah. So that could be really perceived as a major upset, to say the least. And I'm kind of conflicted now, because Louis, a long-time Liverpool fan who's also a podcaster here at Daily English Premier League and also at Daily Liverpool, I would love to hear his reaction as to like how right after I was claiming and everybody around him claimed that Liverpool, they have the title in the pocket. It's already done and dusted. And right after this prediction, right after our statements, Liverpool started dropping points in Premier League. So I do not think I would love to hear the Louis' wrath on me for jinxing his title. But then again, it could be kind of a little bit guilty pleasure, just listening as a Man United fan to a Liverpool fan, just crying and complaining.
Because you usually say that teams drop off from the top four race, so they don't want it when they drop points, or who wants to grab the place, But it's now actually happening with the title, because whenever Liverpool have dropped points, Arsenal have gone along and dropped points as well. I'm pretty sure they said earlier in the season, when Liverpool dropped points to Fulham in the reverse fixture, Arsenal played Everton at I think it was the Emirates, and they drew 0-0. So they dropped points in the same reverse fixtures at the same point earlier in the season, which is
That's
crazy.
interesting.
But from I was meant to mention as well that I thought that Liverpool they really were off it in the first half, like especially Szoboszlai, like players like that, and Jones. There was a lot of misplaced passes, and it was very out of character, like them in possession, how poor they
Hmm.
were.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, I think it was just an off first half, and it's cost them because they were 1-0 up, and then they were 3-1 down
yeah.
in the first half.
There was no way how to get back from that, really.
Yeah,
So, but thanks to that, okay, like based what you just said there about how in the reverse fixture there was pretty much the same, like almost the same story when Liverpool dropped points, but like the difference here
yeah, it
is
was a
that
draw. Yeah,
it was a 2-2 draw, 2-2
yeah,
draw. On December 14th, if I see it correctly. But
yeah.
anyway, that means that Arsenal's job might be slightly easier, although still, like just beating this 11-point difference with I think 7 games left to play. That might be almost impossible. But let's just focus slightly on the Arsenal game because here I mentioned already about this penalty which was given to Everton, which was one of the weakest penalties I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, what was your assessment there?
Yeah, I mean, the way Lewis Skelly plays is for his age, he's just got a very good physical frame, and he just you can tell he's one of the players who uses his body really well, and he's just tried to get his body in between. I think it's Harrison, and then I mean. He's just they've come together and he's just kind of fell. But even Harrison, after he's fell, has just got straight back up without any kind of um, asking of the referee, like, is it a foul? Is it a penalty? Nobody put their arm up. So to just see the
Mm,
referee blow his whistle and just give it like that was just kind of strange. It seemed very soft. I did think the referee in the game wasn't on top of certain things. I know it might seem really small, but because the way Arsenal play, Raya likes to distribute as soon as he catches it, and they were purposely
mm.
like getting in front of the goalkeeper. And I think it was 2 or 3 times he's tried to distribute with his feet, and they've just blocked it. And the referee on I think 1 or 2 occasions wasn't even looking at the goalkeeper; he just let it go. So I was like, it was pretty poor officiating at certain moments. But if it was Villa, if it was my team, I'd be fuming with that decision.
And I
So
don't blame you. I don't blame you. I would be fuming too because for me it was so weak. Because Lewis Skelly, I think he could absolutely correctly, he just blocked the access to the ball from
yeah,
from the forward. It was
yeah.
absolutely legal, and in every other single league in the world, that would just be. Like the referee would just reacted accordingly. So play on, come on, like there's no foul there. But just the fact that and the way how this forward fell in this penalty box, it was just so unnatural. And from like you do not even have to be an expert to see that it was a blatant dive. It was just a blatant dive, and the referee fell for it. And I'm pretty sure that if Premier League has got any brains inside their heads, then I hope that this referee will take a hiatus from refereeing Premier League games. But then again, Michael Oliver was also
And
officiating some games even
somebody
after that.
said on the I watched a fan cam and they said that this was the same referee that was the VAR official when they sent Martinelli off when he got 2 yellow. I think he got 2 yellow cards in the same phase of play when he blocked the ball, and then that later on down the field he got another yellow in the same phase.
Oh, for goodness
So I was
sake!
like,
Oh
wow,
god.
that's interesting point.
So Nathan, does that mean that we're that we're actually jumping on the bandwagon of Arsenal fans on Twitter or X, claiming that the league is rigged against them? Is that what's going on?
I mean, they've had things go against them, but I wouldn't go as far as say that it's like a vendetta against them. But
Mm.
usually, I'm not going to say what teams because I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But there is certain teams who get more decisions than others, and Arsenal are not one of them. in my opinion.
Yeah. There were far worse decisions which were given not against Arsenal but against some other teams. Just I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely so. So, about that title, I think we've just covered everything that was important about Liverpool and Arsenal. Let's quickly move on to what was going on elsewhere on the other places of the Premier League table, because those are also equally important. I'm talking about the teams which currently hold positions 3rd and 6th after the game, of course, which is Aston Villa taking on Nottingham Forest at Villa Park. Here, Nathan, you are the Villa fan, so I will just go straight to the question of how did you enjoy the game and how did you enjoy Aston Villa beating the newcomers on the block for the European positions?
Well, I remember sitting watching the Villa Forest, the return fixture earlier in the season. So frustrated because we were 1-0 up for virtually the entire match, and then we lost it in the last 4 or 5 minutes. They scored 2, and we lost 2-1. So I was just fuming about that. So just to beat them because of that and get a bit of revenge was sweet. But yeah, I thought like we scored 2 goals in 2 minutes. Tielemans with that lovely ball over to Rodgers, great touch. And then he just finished with his left foot. That's just a typical Rodgers finish. And then, well, the Netherlands connection, Matson beat his man down the left, crosses it in, and then Daniel Marlin scored his first Premier League goal for us. Yeah, it's just there's a lot to be enthusiastic about. As a Villa fan, I was more worried about with the Champions League, and I know now we're through to the final 4 of the FA Cup. I was more worried about the volume of matches and whether we can continue to win in the Premier League, because I thought we would drop off. But where we are right now is like pushing for that top 4, top 5 place. And I mean, beating a team like Nottingham Forest, they've been in exceptional form this season. So, I mean, Murillo did hit a left foot rocket from 30 yards that hit the crossbar. That was a really good effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, little bit like the defending at times still concerns me. I mean, with the Jota goal was a bit hesitancy from Mings and Konza to get out and pressure the ball, and he just swiveled and finished. If you do that against PSG, for example, or even Crystal Palace in the final 4 of the FA Cup, you'll get punished immediately. And we've got away with it in a couple games. But we beat Brighton 3-0 in the week, and then beating Forest. There's 2 good teams we've beaten, so I'm really happy this week.
I don't blame you. I do not really blame you.
I'd sacrifice all these wins to beat PSG. Let's just put it there.
You know what? Actually, you kind of maybe inadvertently you touched on a very interesting topic, because not so long time ago, everyone was complaining at Unai Emery as to how he's not rotating the squad, how he just cannot manage combining Champions League with Premier League. Like, he's dropping points in the domestic league, whereas in Europe they are really even overachieving, somebody might say. And now it's the situation when everyone is praising Unai Emery for how he's doing so well in rotating the squad. And I think part of that, I don't know whether you'll agree with me, but part of that has to do with the new arrivals that came to Villa Park in winter.
No, I 100% agree. I think he's just gathered a really strong core of players, especially with because he's basically gotten rid of players like Wendia, and everyone he's brought in has Champions League experience. So Disasi, Marlon, Rashford, and Asensio, they all have pedigree and international experience as well. So you can tell what the plan was, and all those players are contributing. Well, all of them scored against Brighton in the week. It was Asensio, Marlon, and Rashford. So and then we've got the Pau Torres is just coming back from injury. Also, that's a big boost for our defense. Tielemans has been really good. We've got Onana to bring in. We got a lot of strength in depth, and January was huge considering a team like Arsenal who didn't really bring anybody in. when they needed it in January, we really strengthened, and you can tell it's paying off because without those players, we wouldn't get these victories. Well, I think
Mhm.
Rashford has been a really good player in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Don't want to say that to a Man United fan, but
No. I agree, and not only do I agree, but I also double down on it, saying that the link up between Asensio and Rashford between Asensio and Rashford are one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in football.
yeah,
So
I got the
I'm really
chance.
shipping it. I'm shipping it.
I got the chance to go back to England to the Villa Bruges game in the Champions League a couple of weeks ago, and it was a poor first half, but second half, like Rashford and Asensio came on, and the class level is just it's a different level to what we've been used to.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah,
how we have Asensio right now is just crazy. Like he's a level above anything we've got. Yeah, we're fortunate.
absolutely.
Very
Well,
good recruitment.
former Real
So
Madrid player.
yeah,
Yeah. A former Real Madrid player. What else can you expect? But maybe enough talking about Aston Villa, because let's just focus slightly on Nottingham Forest and what on earth is happening there. Because especially the reason why those used guys scored those 2 goals, it was mainly because of so much disorganization in Nottingham Forest defense. This is something that. If someone pays close attention to Premier League, doesn't really see that much often from the Espirito Santos side.
yeah, no, it's true. The first goal, the Tielemans one, where he's lofted it over to Rodgers, he was in a lot of space, and it's early in the game, so that's pretty abnormal for Forest. I know that they lost Ola Aina to injury, and he's been really, really performing well this season. So that's taken like a cog out of their team. But yeah, I think Milenkovic and Murillo have been really, really strong this season. So that was strange. And then even the second goal, you found Yates trying to close down Matson on the wing, and Yates is a centre midfielder. So yeah, I think you're right. There was a lot
Mm-hmm.
of disorganisation. We tend to start pretty well in games like that, Villa, especially at Villa Park. Um, but yeah, we kind of faded off in the second half. But I think we just caught them in the first 20 minutes a little bit cold, and we with the intensity and how we attacked. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, and actually, when I remember the commentator of the game, like commenting on the ineptity of Forest defense, he just claimed one thing. I really have no, I'm like in my belief, those players have no idea how to set up the back line, because they were used to a completely different system of playing, and then they went from 3 centre backs to all of a sudden to 4 in back line, and then all of a sudden to 5, and then the question rose of who's covering who. And that is basically, lo and behold, what happened in those two, but especially with this goal scored by Rogers. I mean,
yeah,
that was just a showcase of disorganization in the back four, or back
yeah.
three, or back five, or whatever back they had out there. So, if anyone has to be okay, but here's maybe me defending the players. Was that just some disorganization matter among the players, or was that a plan of Nuno Espirito Santo which just failed?
I'd probably say more the plan from Nuno, to be honest, because if they're setting up in a
Mm,
way to prevent Villa from playing or with their back line, and then it's just that it was so early in the game. I think we scored on 15 minutes and 17 minutes. So for them to have such a wide open space for Rodgers to run into and be open without and he wasn't challenged with a free shot of goal inside the box, that's worrying.
mm-hmm,
Um, was it Morata or was it? Oh yeah, so what they did was they had Dominguez in at right back and went to a back three with Morata. So yeah, you're right. Like they've been with a back four the entire season, and then the injury to Aina, they've gone with a back three, which they're not used to. So that's
mm-hmm.
probably they've tried something new and probably just hasn't worked. Yeah, we tend to find those good spaces in between like fullback and centre back with Emery's system. We always do.
Yeah, because you have some stability in the squad, and
Yeah.
again, we can just go back to praising Villa, which you will have no problem doing. But we really have to move on. Just on a quick note, Aston Villa, after this victory, right now you have exactly scored 46 goals and conceded 46 goals. So now your difference is exactly 0,
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting because there are teams with a better goal difference, which are far lower than Aston Villa. So now Aston Villa 51 points after 31 games, just 1 point of difference to the advantage of Manchester City, which sits fifth, and the 2 points of difference to Chelsea, which is fourth. There is still a good chance that you can catch both Man City and Chelsea and sit fourth in the Champions League place. And to be honest, with Forest in such bad form, you still guys have a chance of actually finishing above Forest if Forest doesn't get their stuff together. And that's putting it mildly. Okay, let's take a break and then we'll discuss all of the other action which happened in match week number 31 in Premier League.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out as the clear winner, with 4K video recording from your phone, AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the description to learn more about Zencastr.
Thank you, Zencastr, for sponsoring our podcast. You're listening to Daily English Premier League podcast brought to you by Global Sports Podcast Network. So, Nathan, what else happened this last weekend that we should talk about?
Well, there was a big game down at the bottom between Ipswich and Wolves. I dubbed it as the glimmer of hope game for Ipswich, as there were 9 points behind Wolves, and then the head-to-head against Wolves in this game pretty much gives them a slim chance of survival. And yeah, they took the lead with a Delap goal from oh my god, I've forgotten his name now. Dara O'Shea headed it back across the box, and then Delap just got his foot to it in front of the defender, and he 1-0. So you'd be thinking, can they go and push on and get a second? And Wolves really stepped it up in the second half, and even without Cunha, like Strand Larsen has really stepped up. I think he's got 4 goals in 3 games, and he got another goal, and then Sarabia with a great goal as well. So yeah, I think that's their Achilles heel. Ipswich, they've just conceded too many goals. They always tend to concede. I think they lost to Southampton as well, if I'm not mistaken. In their head-to-head.
Could be.
So, yeah, that was important because I think that's potentially put Ipswich down now, and that would there's a chance that the 3 that are in the relegation now will be the 3 worst teams ever to go down in terms of points. So that's kind of worrying for teams who are getting promoted into the Premier League.
well, to be honest, like Ipswich, Leicester, Southampton, with Southampton already confirmed as a team which has 0% chance of staying up in the Premier League, so they are the first team confirmed to get relegated to Championship, and that is, by the way, the earliest relegation in Premier League history, because Southampton, they still got 7 games left to play, and they are already confirmed as the relegated team. I just want to go back quickly to this Ipswich Wolves game, because it was in that game that something happened which we do not really see very often, and that was the indirect free kick from, I believe it was 4 or 5 meters for Wolves.
Yeah, I think it was Palmer, the Ipswich keeper, went to put his foot over the top of the ball, and then he basically clawed it off the line with his hand, and then they gave an indirect free kick. Yeah. To be honest with you, I had to kind of rack my brain about the rules of the sport, because I don't remember that happening very often. I didn't even know that was a rule.
Apparently, but like, I knew that. Yeah.
I thought, but.
No.
That was. I think they're complaining about that, Ipswich. But if it's in the laws, then it's in the laws.
It is, and to be honest, I'd actually known that to be a fact, like this rule that you are not allowed to pass to your own goalkeeper when you're not being pressured. So that's absolutely That is 101 of football rules. So thanks to that victory, Wolves, they have made one step further towards staying up in the Premier League. Another game which was pretty interesting, Crystal Palace taking on Brighton, 3 sent-offs in the entire game, and Crystal Palace dominating Brighton with 2 goals, winning the game with 2 goals to 1. Anything significant about this game from personality standpoint?
Well, the player I wanted to highlight from this game was Eze. He took the 2 assists for both Mateta and Munoz. I just think he's had a really good 2 weeks of scoring the goal in the FA Cup quarterfinals, and then he got his England goal when in the international break, and then now he's contributing again. You think he's probably rivaling Rodgers for a spot in the England team, maybe even England starting 11. But yeah, Mateta scored a screamer as well. That was a really good finish. And yeah, Munoz is just not having him in my FPL team, for example, is just killing me because he's just so good. His attacking output is just really good right wing back for them. But yeah, I know that they were really poor again, Brighton, in the first half, and then they got the goal with Welbeck early in the first half, but it was just a little too late. I think they've kind of, don't know, that them and West Ham are trying to kind of find their identity. I think under their new managers, I don't feel like they are where they want to be, and yeah, I just don't think like Mitoma and Adingra, and they're very good players, but they're just not clicking at the moment. Yeah, and João Pedro. Yeah, they just got to get back to where they were earlier in the season.
That's what they have to do, and so that was a pretty entertaining game. In other result, West Ham drew against Bournemouth with 2 goals each. Bournemouth continuing maybe lack of form. I think that's what we're going to have to say about the Bournemouth side. I mean, for example, Ilya Zabani, one of the best centre backs that the Premier League's had in recent history. Zabani having a poor game as well. But maybe we shouldn't be talking too much about that. Brentford Chelsea, that was a super interesting result, especially from my point of view, because Chelsea is scheduled to play Legia Warsaw on April 10th. And Chelsea, not only did they fail to score, but they also were on the brink of losing because Brentford were a far better team at some points. Would you share my point there?
Yeah, I mean, we know about Brentford earlier in the season had that incredible home record, so they're always going to be a tough team to play at the G-Tech. And yeah, I think they threatened. Wissa had a good header that was just narrowly past the post. Embuemo had a couple shots. I know Vandenberg, the centre back, missed basically a free header inside the 6-yard box. He headed it down into the ground. So Chelsea are very fortunate to come away with anything, and with Man City dropping points and then Chelsea dropping points, the Newcastle have 2 games in hand, so the whole kind of top 4 race is still kind of wide open. Villa are pushing up towards that now as well. We were down in 10th, but we're going closer. So all these games count, but yeah, just think Chelsea in attack is it's been pretty poor. Jackson was injured and Palmer's been out of form, and Sancho and Madueke and Neto are just not hit any rhythm at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is visible. That is absolutely visible, and that is very good news for Legia as they go on to face Chelsea in the quarterfinals of the Conference League on April 10th in the first leg. There will be a preview of the game Legia Warsaw taking on Chelsea. So if you guys are interested in that, then check out and stay tuned to Daily English Premier League because we will be discussing that game in more detail. And just to finish off our review, Tottenham defeating Southampton with 3 goals to 1, and just like we mentioned, Tottenham just putting the final nail to the Southampton coffin, and the Saints dropping and getting relegated from Premier League. I think it was long overdue, wasn't it?
Yeah, just Southampton have just. I mean, you said that point about they're the quickest team to be relegated, but for them now, they want to avoid the Derby County comparisons because they need to get 2 points to not to get the same or more than what Derby County got in their worst ever Premier League season.
Oof.
So they're
Oof.
relegated now, but they need 2 points. So they need to get a win or 2 draws. So yeah,
Oh
yeah,
no.
just really, it's probably for me. It's just a championship squad, and then when Russell Martin was in place earlier in the season, to play that way out from the back, and after what happened to Burnley last season with that same style, it's kind of crazy to have that philosophy. The jump from the Championship to the Premier League is really significant to play that style. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
commendable, but this is what happens. You can easily get relegated with that kind of style. So
Yeah. No Jan Bednarek anymore in the Premier League starting from next season. That's going to be a big debacle for the Polish national team coach. So those are all of the games which happened already in the weekend. We still have one game to preview. It just is going to be a short preview. I'll just ask you about your predicted scoreline. Leicester taking on Newcastle. Great opportunity for the Eddie Howe side to pick up 3 points on Leicester, which is also bound for relegation. What is your prediction there?
I'm probably gonna say 2-0 to Newcastle. They really struggle to score, Leicester, and I think I saw a stat even when they lost to Man United that they hadn't scored in like 7 home games in a row, even before that game, and then that was another game. So they really are just not hitting the back of the net. And Newcastle's defense is pretty strong, and then with Isak and Bruno and Harvey Barnes and Murphy, the way they're playing, you can only sense that they'll create chances and get goals. I know there's a murmuring Isak may be injured or he's touch and go, but even with Wilson to come in, you'd think they'd have enough. But yeah, I can't see past the Newcastle win, especially with them chasing the top 4. Yeah, I'd say 2-0.
2-0. Okay, you heard it here, folks, for the first time. Okay, so that basically wraps up the entire Monday review of all the action of the Premier League with Nathan, the AVFC fan. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're hoping to see
Thank
you
you.
in other episodes too. So we're just really looking forward to seeing you again, man.
Thank you. I look forward to the next round of games.
Absolutely. There's still some fight going on for those best places for Europe. There's still fight for the title, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen. Just when you thought that Liverpool had it done and dusted, there's still something happening. So follow us, visit our YouTube channel, visit our TikTok, visit all of our social media platforms. Stay tuned to Global Sports Podcast Network, Daily English Premier League. Michał Czarniecki from California. Thank you so much, guys, and see you and hear you in the next one.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.